Namaste, yogis. Hello, hello, hello. It's Kelly, and it's day 21 of my 30-day video blogging challenge. Thanks so much for joining me. And I thought today that we could talk a little bit about some, like a teeny little aspect, not teeny, but one small slice of yogic philosophy, Aparigraha. So I mentioned maybe several weeks ago the 8 limbs of Raja Yoga, the Ashtanga meaning 8 limbs of Raja Yoga as described by the Yoga Sutras. And one of these limbs is called the yamas, and this is ethical restraints of sorts. There are 5 of them. They range from ahimsa, non-violence, to satya, truthfulness, asteya, non-stealing, brahmacharya, which is moderation, and aparigraha, or non-hoarding, non-coveting, if you will. So there are some really interesting interpretations of this sutra, and I'll read to you 2 different transliterations of this particular sutra. One that I really like says, "Where there is firm conquest over covetousness, they who have conquered it wake up to the how and the why of life." This one just really resonates with me on so many levels. But then there's also, I've been reading this kind of fat book called the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which includes some of the original commentators' comments on this. And this is kind of what I would, I'm also a lawyer. I don't know if I've ever told you that, but I probably have. But this includes some more what I would call textualist interpretations of the sutra. And it's sort of beginning, I'll just begin by reading. "When refrainment from covetousness becomes firmly established, knowledge of the whys and wherefores of births manifests." And so this one goes back a little bit to the notion of karma and reincarnation. And some of the original commentators on the sutras would say that what this sutra means is that when you stop your wanting, essentially, you will literally be able to see your past lives, like actually know what happened and how it is that you got here. Now, I mean, I think that's probably true. I guess it's hard because yoga is such a experiential, philosophical framework that it's hard to say. Maybe someday when I let go of my covetousness of certain things, I will be able to see what happened in past lives. But so far, I haven't really had that experience. What I can say is that this notion of letting go of our wanting, the desires perhaps of the ego, we do get a lot of insights into sort of the nature of the universe and what is truly important. And so from that perspective, maybe we do see our past, or maybe have seen our past lives already. In this life, at that point, or by employing that, it's been interesting for me to see sort of where I was before and where I am now. And so maybe, little yoga epiphany, maybe that is part of what that sutra is talking about. I'll give you an example. So I did this project several years ago where I decided not to buy any new clothing for an entire year. And it all started when I had when we moved from Colorado to Washington, and I took the Washington bar exam. And immediately after taking it, I went out to reward myself by, buying some stuff I didn't need at the Gap, and thinking to myself, wow, I worked really hard, I really applied myself, and how am I rewarding myself with more stuff that I have to, work at some crazy job in order to afford. And so I was like, this stops here, no more. 1 year, not buying new clothes. And I thought it was going to be really hard, and it wasn't actually. It turned out to be just this really fun and liberating experience. But through that, I really gained some insight into my past life in this life, where I had worked before, like at this job, when I was, I was obviously an attorney in Colorado as well, and working, like 90-hour weeks and having zero time for the things I truly loved. And for me, like, my time out was like going to Anthropologie and blowing $400 on, clothes that were for fun that I couldn't wear to work. So it was just like a really interesting insight that I gained in that time when I gave myself space away from buying, to look at sort of motivations and how things had played out in the past. And then also, this is something I've really been playing with on the mat, how we come into postures, and our bodies hold all sorts of things, whether they're from past lives or just, it's funny, now that I think of past lives, it sort of plays into everything I was going to say, or genetics, and I mean, that is past lives. So if you're born with, the way your bones are shaped and the way they fit together affects the way that we practice. And so then on top of that, we have all of these notions of what the body is supposed to look like in certain postures, and our earthly self, our little self, our self that might be, identified with our ego a little bit, is saying, oh, but I have tight hips, I don't look right in this pose, I better, I shouldn't do it, or I should maybe, do something else, or not completely let myself go in this posture because of all of this stuff that I have in my body that I'm, at war with my mind. And so I've been really working about this whole, like, non-coveting a certain look in a pose, so that we can really, like, let go of all of that chitter-chatter, all of the stuff in our mind, in order to, really, like, shine in the posture. Because, I mean, we've talked about this before, like, the pose isn't the ends, it's the means. We play out all of this stuff in postures so that we are more fully present in the world, so that we're more fully accessible to, these other beings we come in contact with. And so I've just really been going for it with this notion of Aparigraha on the mat, and how letting go, there's my dog, of what we think a pose should look like, or how we think our body fits or does not fit in with that template. How letting go of that, letting go of our ego in that pose, just opens up worlds, opens up past lives maybe. So anyway, I know I'm kind of rambling today, but I just thought I'd share with you this particular yama that I'm really studying and processing right now. And thanks for joining me. Thanks for listening to my little ramble. I wish you a beautiful day where you shine. Namaste.